Howdy, folks. Happy Monday. It is 3 weeks till NHL trade deadline, folks. Yes. The most fun part of the year, at least for me. Not for those players who get traded from one place to the other, but for me. So that's all I care about.
Fun for some of them.
Fun for some, right. We'll start with the pre-show. Go ahead, Russ.
So just looking at the last tweet from Jeff Passan, or Passan rather, from ESPN, it looks like, I know, it's just the way it came out, but it's Passan. From ESPN, so far it looks like there is not going to be an agreement, and Rob Manfred is going to basically cancel opening day. And I want to just tell you how egregious this would be in my life, because I've been to every Mets opening day since 1988 consecutively. I've also been to a few more than that when I was younger. If Rob Manfred is the one that breaks that streak for me, not because my wife was sick and I left her on the couch, and not because of other things that come up and you just go anyhow, if Rob Manfred is the reason that there is no actual true opening day this year, wow, I don't even know what to say.
They will count it as opening day.
No, but it won't be. That's the problem.
Well, I mean, they'll count it. Your opening day tickets will work on that.
I know, but it's not going to be the same.
I thought you missed one because of COVID.
No, well, I mean, COVID, we all missed because of COVID, right. Because so that's where you got the we all.
Well, they're all going to miss on this one too if you're going by the traditional day. So I think your streak is safe.
I guess. I'm still going to be really annoyed though.
Yeah, I mean, you have the right to be.
Well, hey, let's just say I don't have. The last opening day that I went to, I have a really joyous memory of that, because it was a Blue Jays Yankees opening day in Toronto, and I was up in Toronto for the Puck Talk speaker series. So I said, kill two birds with one stone and go to the opening day. And I order an order of chicken fingers about the third inning. And I take a bite into one, and it breaks the temporary crown that I have on my tooth. So I'm walking around with a post in my mouth.
A chicken finger.
It was definitely a fresh chicken finger, because it broke a piece of plaster in two, or whatever the heck, the epoxy or whatever the stuff is made.
But just to let everybody know, like, if you've never been to opening day for baseball, why it's better than any other day, opening day in sports. For the most part, spring is around the corner. So once in a while, it's a 50-50 dice roll. You might get a really nice day. But in New York, hey, it's always 50-50. You could get, still 40 degrees, and, you got to wear a jacket. But it's 50-50. You got to get a nice day. Your team is 0-0. You are optimistic, at least for that game, that, hey, we could start the season right.
Even Mets fans are optimistic.
Even Mets fans. Opening day, the Mets have the best opening day record in baseball history, actually. So that's something that Mets fans in particular look forward to. But it's just all fans look forward to it, because it is like a day that you say, you know what, I'm not working on opening day. I'm not doing this on opening day. I'm going to watch a baseball game on opening day. And a lot of families do it, and a lot of people still do it.
Well, I'm not sure a lot of families do it anymore because the cost.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah, but
fathers and sons, I mean.
The late Ernie Harwell always said that going to opening day was like going to church on Easter Sunday. You see a lot of people there that you won't see the rest of the year.
Right.
And that's certainly true. There's always a lot of business folks and corporate types and stuff, but there are always a lot of just great fans as well.
Yeah.
What I don't understand is why they feel like that's still, you got all of March. Like, why do you got to cancel that now? Like, to me, you don't need more than.
It seems punitive. It really does.
Yeah, it does.
To me too. A lawyerish move to try and have like a massive impact immediately. Yeah. So what could be bigger than saying opening day is canceled?
I think this is a pressure tactic by
That's all it is.
I think it's basically like I said last week. I think that his intent here is to bust the back of the union, not to break them, but to drum up discontent. And I think that's what's going to happen. All of a sudden now, you're going to have like the Max Scherzers and Garrett Cole's of the world saying, "Oh my God, I'm going to start missing paychecks," and that's going to really.
I don't believe that at all.
Oh,
I really don't. Baseball has always been an incredibly strong union.
No, they've got their stipend already. They were getting $5,000 a week recently. Now they're going to get $15,000 this week.
Yeah. No, I see them holding strong too. In fact, it could backfire. It just may pick them off.
And I do want to point out to Esmir that while I do laugh at the Stewie Griffin GIF or video, whichever you show, of the Mets season being over after the first pitch, that is no longer the case. But that has been the case before.
Yeah,
so
now
it's funny.
Now it's the first game.
I still will yell at Seth MacFarlane someday if I see him, though.
All right, guys, I have a quick story that I have to share because this is a classic. My wife said I had to share this on the podcast. A classic Eklund moment that I had this weekend. All right, so
is this a pickleball story?
No, it's not. So a guy named Brian Fallon, who's in a band called Gaslight Anthem, is one of her favorites. A really, really good band. He's a really strong songwriter. He's from Central Jersey, a hockey player. He actually grew up playing ice hockey. Brian Fallon. And just really, really good. A lot of Springsteen fans like him for some reason. He's different than Springsteen. He's younger, hipper, way more tattooed, but has like the same sort of energy. Anyway, back in the summer, she texted me, "Hey, get tickets. He's coming on February 27th." I'm like, "Okay, cool." So I'm like, "Great." So I get tickets back then, and Saturday night we head out. And we get everything set up at home, so everybody's good. We get a hotel. We're gonna stay in the city. We're gonna have fun. We're gonna just have a night out, date night. Last time, right? It's freezing cold. We wait in line. It's at the old electric factory in Philadelphia, which is now called something else. But it's a building I played in a couple times. It's a barn, and it's a standing room only because it's a younger crowd. It's not.
Well, I've been there. It's a decent place.
Right.
Actually, I was at a concert with Kevin Allen there.
Yeah, I was there. Yeah.
You were there?
Yeah. For the Winter Classic New Year's Eve concert.
Oh, is that where they had that?
Yeah.
It literally is a barn.
Okay, so you know what I'm talking about. All right, so I'm standing there in line, freezing cold, Saturday night. All these other people, hipsters, we're way older than everybody else. It's like ridiculous, right? So we're in line.
Can I guess the punchline here?
No, don't guess the punchline because I know you figured it out. All right. So we get to the front of the line, you have your vaccination. Yeah, here's your ID. Yeah, go through the metal detector. Yeah, all good. Go ahead, Darren. Get to the front line, and tickets don't work. And I'm like, what the hell? Man, tickets? And I'm like, tickets don't work. What's going on? He's like, oh yeah, you got the wrong night. It's like, this is Sunday the 27th, and it's tomorrow night. I'm like, oh Lord.
I knew it.
I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay.
As soon as he said it, I knew it.
It's the date, right? So. To be fair, 6 months ago, she said they're coming Saturday night, the 27th. So in my head, I always put that together as but that's 6 months ago.
Anyway, wait, so you're blaming her on this?
It gets better. No, I'm not blaming her. I'm not blaming her. It gets better. It gets better. So I still cannot fathom that Brian Fallon I'm like, oh, Brian Fallon's playing 2 nights. Like, this is great. So I said, are still tickets available for tonight? They're like, yeah, there's a couple. Get in the line there. So I go back in line. I stand in line, 4 people in front of me. Person, just like out of a movie, the person in front of me buys the last 2 tickets, slams it down, right? Slam down, sold out. I'm like, oh my God, you're killing me. And I go to the woman. I'm like, listen, look, we have Brian Fallon tickets. It's just for the wrong night. We're old. We came into the city. This is not like easy for us to do this. It just takes a lot for people in their 50s. It's like, yeah, but Backstreet Lovers are playing tonight, not Brian Fallon. So, I mean, the other thing that's crazy about this is I would have bought tickets to the concert without even asking who they were. Because you're just in line. I was waiting to buy 2 tickets. I'm like, not even asking who was actually playing. So the 2 saving graces were I didn't buy tickets to a band I didn't know. And also it wasn't like I got the date wrong and they were there the night before. That was the other thing we thought about. Okay. So last night, back into the city, saw the show, had a great time. But I tell you what, I've realized is that 2 nights out in the city like that, that's too much for 50-year-olds. We're exhausted. We're beat up. We're beat to hell today. Anyway, that's my story. Let's move on.
I still would have gone back.
We did. We went.
All right, that's good.
All right, ready. So I'm going to get the date right because I know.
You think?
Yes. It is Monday, February 28th, 2022.
I'm Michael Agello, and I always get the date right.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
Kevin Allen, Hockey Buzz.
And I'm Eklund. And you're watching HockeyBuzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com. This is the podcast that comes every Monday through Friday to fill you in on the comings and goings in the hockey world. And before we go any further today, for a second, I have to send a shout out to my alma mater high school team, Cherry Hill East High School Hockey, who now when I was there, they didn't have a hockey team, which sucks, but they do now. And they tonight are going for the championship of South Jersey ice hockey high school teams in at the skate zone in Voorhees, which is where the Flyers practice, their Flyers practice facility. I will be attending later tonight because a good friend of mine has a son on the team. And yeah, so I just want to send out good luck to the good old red and white Cherry Hill East Cougars. We'll see what happens. Anyway, moving on. The Islanders. I want to start with them because you knew I'd start with them, right?
No, well, we honored it.
Whatever.
Start with
You're
them.
They are now. They picked up another 2 points
please, for
over the weekend.
Christ's sake.
They're now 1 point away from controlling their own fate again. So just throwing it out there. That's all I wanted to say.
Oh my God.
No, Mike, what do
Did
you
you
got?
even watch the game?
Yeah, Mike, what do you have? No,
No,
of course
hold
not.
on.
Russ, what do you think? I'm standing in line in Philadelphia for 2 nights in a row.
Russ,
This-
go ahead.
This was just a game that I think exposed Anaheim more than it proved anything for the Islanders. I think this was a bad moment for Anaheim because they went up against a team whose game worked that night, where on many nights it doesn't. I mean, Ross Johnston scored 2 goals. I mean, I think he has 3 on the year, maybe.
Yeah.
So, but again, I think it's more of a bad sign for Anaheim than what you're looking for out of the Islanders.
No, it is. And listen, I'm just noting that they're still in control of their fate. I'm not saying they're going to do it. I'm just saying they are still in control of their fate, so it's not over, Mike. And I mean, they're 1 point away from being in control of their fate. And number 2, Sorokin having an incredible year for a terrible team. Like, still having a really good year. I mean, 5 shutouts.
Heck,
5 shutouts. That's something.
Heck, they've nearly exhausted their games played, their games in hand advantage.
They only exhausted 2.
Let me finish. They have 49.
Right.
Boston's got 52. That's 3 games in hand. Washington has got 54.
That's not.
That's 5 games in hand. And they're 17 points.
No. Wait. Whoa. Wait.
Yeah.
No, hold on.
They have 48 points. They're 20.
No, but how many games have they played, Mike?
49.
Now just play 49. How many games have the Capitals played?
54. I just said they have 5 games in hand.
Right, so that's 10 points, right? That's 10 points there, right?
No,
Okay.
but you can't do that, Ak.
And then they play the Capitals 3 times. That's 16 points. They are 1 point out of controlling their fate. That's what
You
I'm saying.
can't assume they're going to win the 5 games. Ak.
I'm not assuming it. I'm simply stating the fact that they are in control of their own fate, Mike. Let's move on. That's all I'm saying. I don't say they're going to do it. I'm simply stating a fact. Let's move on.
Kevin, you're the voice of reason.
I don't know what to say.
Kevin, Kevin, this is just a fact. This isn't like anything to say.
I got it. Yeah, it is a fact. Yeah.
They're 1 point away from controlling their own fate.
But when usually you figure this out, you always assume they'll be 500. That's what you always say.
Or
That's true. That's true. And I'm not saying they're going to do it.
Yeah. So if they went 500, that
then they're nowhere close. But if you're in that locker room, you can look around and say, "Hey guys, we control our fate," which is something that does matter to teams.
Jesus, I mean,
anyway, and it's only now.
I'll ignore the rest of the world, guys. We control our fate.
I will just.
Well, we've got, we're talking about a Russian goalkeeper, so it's a good segue into our next.
Continue.
And I'll just say this, Ak, if their place in the standings stops Lou Lamoriello from trading Cal Clutterbuck or Andy Green or Zdeno Chara, he should be fired on the spot because they should be a seller. Because of at least their rentals and maybe some of the guys who have term if they can get rid of them. But this year is over with. Sorry,
by the trade deadline, I think there will only be like one game in hand, and at that point, we'll know what they've done with these games. So
right now, what Kevin was talking about regarding Varlamov and Sorokin are Russian players and. What is going? Dan Milstein apparently through I think that Darren Drager tweeted it out, said that there were some Russian players that were getting some sort of negative feedback. We saw what happened with Ovechkin. Sort of, I mean, at first sort of avoiding talking with the media, and then being very careful as to what to say about his good friend Vladimir Putin. And now the IIHF apparently is coming out today, and it's widely considered that they're going, if they haven't done it already, that they're going to ban Russia and Belarus from international competition. And then Wayne Gretzky came out on the weekend. Kevin wrote about it with comments about Russian players and the World Junior and in Edmonton. And it was curious, Kev, because I had to look this up. Wayne Gretzky is of, his father is of Ukrainian, Polish, Belarusian background. So, he's, I guess his father's family lived in under Tsar Nicholas in Russia. So there's a lot of family history there. And I mean, it's his statements, I think, are right on target in terms of what the international position is right now about Russia and Belarus.
Yeah, but I really appreciated him saying it.
Yes.
Because he's always been diplomatic, and but this time he said the right thing, which is we need to do something. We need to make a statement. Saying all that, I do think that Milstein, I'm glad he spoke out as well, because we all know historically in this country what happens in these type of situations, going back to World War II, where we improperly imprisoned Japanese Americans.
Yes.
We, after 9/11, Muslims, of course, were victims of hate crimes. After the COVID started, we started to have Chinese or Asian hate as well.
Germans,
so we go through this.
Germans during World War I as well.
Yeah, for sure, but it's a little farther back. But I would hate to see that with the Russian players. I mean, it's certainly fine for someone to feel that Ovechkin didn't do enough, that he's friends with Putin, but to go any further than that, to say, look, I just think he's wrong. Let's not get too carried away here, because I'm fearful that that's what's going to happen. That we're going to start, they're going to start receiving, death threats and all kinds of things.
Hopefully.
People have to remember, like, when Panarin spoke out last year, what happened in Russia.
Right.
These guys have family over there still. It's like this is we have to be able to read between the lines a little bit. Like when I'm looking at Ovechkin talking there, I'm realizing he's got family over there, and he's got to say what he's got to say.
Yeah. Panarin did speak out again this year, and look, Ovechkin got booed every time he touched the puck. It was a little bit more than usual, and Kuznetsov got booed, and it is definitely going to happen. So I could see why Milstein would say it. The other important thing about these junior tournaments is, remember, the Hlinka Gretzky tournament is also in Edmonton this year, and it's right. I think it's right after the World Juniors. I forget now because they changed the World Junior date. So that's a 3 or 4 week span of junior hockey there that you pretty much should keep Russia out of. And then the under 18s are in Germany, and I'm sure they don't want them playing there, especially since where they're situated with NATO and everything. So you would hope that this happens today, but I still think the IIHF should have done this sooner. Right. It's like this is still late for me, but it'll be good if they do it.
But go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, they added. Someone asked me, why is it different? Because I had said that I think it would be wrong to ask NHL teams to get rid of their Russian players. First of all, they have contracts, but even beyond that, because the difference is this: when you're in an international tournament, you're representing your country. Our beef is with the country of Russia, not with these individual players. But when they play for their country, then we can say, look, we don't want that team around. But these are when they're over playing in the NHL, they're just citizens of the world coming over trying to be employed. They've got a contract here. We've welcomed them with open arms. And now, because we don't like, who's in charge of their country, I don't think that's any reason.
Yeah, I agree, Kevin. And it's not like we have had any Russian player that I can ever remember being like anti-American or in any way. That's never happened. I mean, they appreciate and I'm telling you, more than almost any nationality. I am sorry about my dog. I'll stop in a second. But more than any nationality that I've covered as far as these young guys go, the Russians seem to be the most appreciative of the fact of what America is. To be honest, I really find that to be the case.
Well, but they're
right back.
there could be further reaching effects. I know that there was talk about Russian players and next season in terms of visa access and whether countries like the U.S. or Canada will limit visa access based on what's going on in the world right now. And also, it came out over the weekend, Kev, that the U.S. was basically wanting American citizens to leave Russia, and now you've got a number of American players playing in the KHL, and I believe the KHL playoffs are starting today. So what players do?
It's going to cause all kinds of problems for players on both sides. For example, I'm assuming that flights to Russia will end. We've already got that going on in Europe. It's not going to be easy for the Russian players to get back to Russia. I'm sure they can do it through China or maybe some
or something like that.
Yeah. So they'll be able to do it, but it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be a quick flight home. And I think KHL players that I appreciated the fact that Wayne Gretzky's former line mate Yari Curry said, no, we're not going to play in the KHL playoffs. Of course, he's general manager and part owner of the Jokerit team, it's in Finland, but it's in the KHL. And of course, for those of you who may not be up on your geography or have forgotten that Finland borders Russia, and he said, no, we're not going to do it. So they've already pulled out as well. And there'll be decisions to make for the American and maybe even Canadian players.
Just to answer the chat room too, to answer Michael Cohen, my great-grandfather was Russian and my great-grandmother was Russian. My great-grandmother fled Russia in like 1900, so you could look up history for that and see why. But anyhow, so I have it in my background too, and a lot of us do.
The Cossacks and the pogroms. Look that up, folks. No, but one thing, the Jokerit building is Russian owned, which is one of the reasons why they pulled out of the KHL playoffs. And not to get into international politics, but Finland and Sweden are begging to get into NATO right now based on what's going on. So obviously this has got far-reaching effects. And
the World Championship, so that's going to be another one too.
Yeah.
Well, Sweden sent arms to Ukraine of all countries, so they've already arrived, according to news reports.
So okay, Ak, you want to start us off with some rumors?
Yeah, let's get to that's. I know this is so much less important, and I know with everything that's going on, but we do like to be your escape from everything else. We all need to breathe for a second. So that's what we're going to like to do. We like to have some fun and breathe, and so let's talk hockey, because that's something that we all love, and that's something that we can escape for a second from.
And this is bourbon.
Drinking bourbon. Okay, there you go. Yeah, someone thinks this is every time I have my big iced tea, they're like, "You're drinking a Jack Daniels." Anyway, I think my big iced tea looks like a bottle of Jack. I guess there you have it. Never tasted Jack in my life. All right.
You haven't missed much, but continue.
Interesting. I had an interesting conversation this morning with a source in New Jersey that I really trust, and who filled me in a little bit on some things that were what's going on?
No, I said it wasn't me.
Not me. You must have said not me.
The source in New Jersey. I said it wasn't me.
No, and it wasn't the coach of the Cherry Elise hockey team. Okay, it was no.
It wasn't the elephant on the beach. What's his name?
No, it was not Lucy in Margate.
I love that elephant. What do you mean?
I haven't seen that elephant. That elephant right now, by the way, is completely
nice trunk.
It's covered in scaffolding and white. You can't see it. It's just a big giant.
That's a shame. I haven't seen it right now,
so it's freaky because it's not there. All right. No, this is a good source who told me that things are heating up in the goalie world in the trade rumor deadline for the trade deadline here, and said one of the things that's happening is that Edmonton now is all in on Marc-Andre Fleury. This is what he was told, and that he's talking to the GMs. Okay, so
can I just
let me finish this thought? Okay. Obviously, we all know that they've got to convince Marc-Andre Fleury to go there. They've got to clear space, but it's not out of the question that New Jersey would take Koskinen. I was told. Okay, we all wonder if Koskinen could go somewhere. It's not the question that New Jersey would do that. Now that is a little bit.
That's the easy part of it, because all Edmonton has to do is bribe some team to take them for the last 20 games.
Right.
Give New Jersey a second round pick with all
just trade another asset.
Right. Now I know that's the easy part. Okay, and getting Marc-Andre Fleury to play there is the hard part, right? We get that, but I don't think it's an impossible part. Edmonton, the new coach. Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead, Kevin.
No, I don't think it's impossible, but it's just not likely. Yeah,
right.
It wasn't likely, but I think it's more likely than it was when we were saying last week it wasn't likely, because we heard about maybe some backroom discussions, which may or may not be wrong.
Yeah, I ran your thoughts by some people who said that. He certainly, Fleury's connection to the Penguins is important, and if they, tried to convince him, but they didn't think it would happen. But this is what I would say: the reason why it's more possible is he's not going to have a lot of options.
Right.
That's the deal. If he wants to continue and make a playoff run, it could come down. I know you think Minnesota, but thus far it hasn't happened yet.
Right.
Right now, it looks just like it's going to be Edmonton and Washington.
Yeah,
now, if Minnesota gets in, that gives them another option. So
I mean, Colorado is dried up, as you said. Because Kemper and Francouz are playing
for now.
But the caveat with 31 other teams is if somebody goes down, if somebody gets hurt, so that can happen.
Right.
But I mean. And I'm just going to quickly segue to this, and we can segue back into rumors.
I still got more on this, but continue.
No. I was going to say, based on what happened at the Little Caesars Arena on Saturday night, a team wearing blue and white might be interested in a goaltender, because right now the goaltender who's been their number one since last March couldn't stop a beach ball in that game. Jack Campbell gave up 3 goals in like 3 minutes to make a laugher into a game where Leaf fans were biting their nails. And I'm not jumping off the Jack Campbell bandwagon.
Yeah,
look at I have a breakdown of the statistics in my blog today. Prior to December 1st, his save percentage was .940. That was not sustainable. We know that. But you need a goaltender to be like a .920 goaltender to be. Right. And his save percentage since December the 1st is .892, and they're still winning in spite of that. Right. Now, if they get this kind of goaltending out of Campbell and Mrazek, they're not going anywhere. So is Kyle Dubas, is he maybe in the goalie market? I don't know. He's probably going to stick with what he's got and probably bolster the defense. But that might be something if it continues down that road in the next 3 weeks.
If it gets shakier, he's going to be.
Yeah. So I don't know if Fleury would waive his no trade or not go to Toronto.
That's another one. It's another. There's another tough team to think about going to. There's all kinds of stuff really going on there too, from a goalie's perspective. I think the Capitals are not a good team right now. Okay, they're in the playoffs. They're going to make the playoffs, but they're just not a good team. Watching them over the weekend.
Okay, why? Because the Flyers beat them. They're
not. No, not because the Flyers beat them. Because they've won like 5 of their last 15 games.
You're just not anti-capital. It's not even founded. There's no reason for it.
They're not winning games, Russ.
They're getting mediocre goaltending at times.
But they're not winning games. That's the reality. Okay, so
no, they've lost. They're 8-12 since the new year. That's what they are. They're 8-12.
Yeah,
now they are winning some games. They're just not winning them.
Not a playoff team.
Now, Kev,
you're not a playoff team.
Kev, I do think that Brian McClellan is going to be in on a goalie because they say Vanacek is supposed to be back. If he's not back already, he's supposed to be back within a week or so. So they'll have both goaltenders. But even when they had both goaltenders, they weren't sold on their tandem. And if they don't think Samsonov, because just like Pittsburgh, their clock is ticking too with their veteran core. So they may have to make a move for Varlamov or somebody. I don't know if it's Fleury because I just can't buy that. But I think they're going to be in on a goalie.
Yeah. They've, and it's more than their goaltending. They feel like their defense has gotten stale for some reason. Not everybody's at their best. So there are some issues there. And, and this war has got to be weighing on Ovechkin. I mean,
he was really off the other day. There's no question.
there's a lot going on there, and I just don't think they're gonna be able to talk Fleury into going. So
yeah. No, I don't think they're going to talk Fleury into going there either. I agree with you on that one. I think that's less likely than.
I think they're going to get Varlamov. That's what I think they're going to get.
Well, I mean, the thing that's got to be complicating it for that, because I think in connection with Washington, one of us mentioned Holtby. Dallas is in the race.
Yeah,
Dallas is very much in the race.
That's why I think they'll get Varlamov. And
they don't want that extra year though. They've got
they want that. Apparently, I have someone telling me, Kev, that they're okay with an extra year term under goaltending now because it's in question.
Well, Vanacek's a UFA, so he's probably going to be in line for a raise someplace, and maybe they don't want to pay that, so they're okay with having a goalie under contract next year.
Right.
Like they said in the chat room, Timothy Park said Vanacek was sent to Hershey for conditioning.
Right.
That's good. I personally think Vanacek is their best goalie. I've thought that all year, but I might, who knows where that goes.
I think right at this moment he's better than Samsonov, but I think it'll be a mistake to trade him. But I think they're going to trade him. And
I think Vanacek and Mrazek are similar to me, but like as far as they both have that ability, they both have that ability to be very, very good at times, and they both have their moments, where they're not. But
if there were an
injury, definite number one.
The only difference is that, and because we don't know enough about Vanacek yet. If for some reason Vanacek were the playoff goalie, everybody would sort of hold reserve judgment and say, all right, let's see what he can do. If Mrazek were starting the playoffs for the Leafs as goalie, there would be panic in the streets.
There would be.
Yeah, the one issue you have here with bringing in Varlamov, and I know this from doing a piece recently.
Yeah.
Their situation is very similar to the Flyers. They have $71 million committed for next season, and they have to get 8 players out of that. So, so if you add a $5 million goalie to that mix, now Russ's point is a good one because they're going to have to have a goalie, and they're going to have to re-sign. Both their guys are restricted free agents. Either Samsonov or Vanacek would have to get a raise anyway. Maybe that's the point. They'd rather have the devil they can see and know rather than what they don't know. So
true. I mean, listen, I'm not saying I think the Capitals are going to make the playoffs. I'm not saying they're not, but they're not as they're definitely. I think there's a drop off with Boston and Washington from the rest of the East.
I think that's fair. I would agree with that.
And I think Boston I think has the potential to get better more than the Capitals do. Like I think the Capitals, what we saw in the beginning of the season with the Capitals when Ovechkin was playing out of his mind, that's the best this Capitals team can be. I feel.
Yeah, no, that's true too.
Well, Boston,
I think like what Kevin, like what you guys were saying is this. I hate to use it, but the Russian war is going to weigh on Ovechkin. Ovechkin is a representative of Russia. He is wherever he goes. He is going to. He carries that. He carries
that early on. I don't think it's going to keep.
He carries that proudly. He's thinking about it when he gets he's thinking about it.
And Kuznetsov and Orlov, they have a
It didn't bother Orlov that game.
Yeah, but Ovechkin is different than those guys. Ovechkin
I
is.
know. He's tied.
A Russian representative.
Yes, sure.
He's the closest thing the NHL has to, like, if there's one guy that represents Russia in the NHL, it's Ovechkin.
I think, but to your point though, I think Boston has a chance to get better because they have cap space.
Yeah,
and they're looking for something they're looking for a number 2 center, and they might be able to find that out there in this market because everybody seems to be contending for another defenseman or, we talked about goaltending. I don't know how brisk the center market is at this deadline.
Well, there'll be teams after Hurdle, like I said, like the Rangers. They're
right.
So, but I do think Boston, now that DeBrusk's gotten hot, if they truly are going to trade him, now is the time. If he cools off again, it's going to not work out so well for them.
Do we understand why he's always being traded? Like, this is the thing that baffles my mind.
I don't understand it. No.
Of all the players, it's just, there must be some personality conflict or something.
No, I get the feeling from somebody who watches the Bruins and tracks what they do. DeBrusk is a bit of a disappointment to them. I think they thought he was going to be a 30-goal scorer.
Why would they think that?
Well, I don't know. Realize he's a really good 20-goal scorer.
Yeah,
right. That's what I always thought.
It's expectations versus reality.
Exactly.
Yeah. He scored 20 goals one time.
Right.
Yeah.
That's all he's done. He got 27 one year.
Yeah.
And he hasn't been able to do. He got 19 one year.
Yeah.
But
I mean, this is a lot of games too, right? So I mean, it's hard to really.
yeah,
I always thought he was closer to the 20-goal guy than the 30-goal guy.
they just want more, and he hasn't. A couple seasons he hasn't gotten 20, he hasn't gotten 19, and
Right.
And I believe that this year is the last year of that bridge deal that he signed, and based on what they're paying him in the mid threes right now, and he's probably going to be looking for more than that. And probably the reason that they're willing to trade him is because they don't think he's worth paying more. So,
yeah, God forbid anybody should ever get paid in Boston.
right? Are
you going to finish up what you were saying?
I want to finish up the Fleury thing for a second here because
Otherwise, we're
yeah, here's the concept. Then we can move on to anything you guys want. They have ways of getting rid of Koskinen. We talked about that.
Yep.
If they can convince him to
Hockey
go there,
ways. Just for people tuning in, hockey ways.
they hockey ways again.
This isn't Goodfellas.
They're not throwing him in the river. They're gonna get. It would be very tall to do that. He probably would bounce right back up.
He probably
so-
would.
He's not Billy Bats in Goodfellas.
hard to drown that man. Okay, so the gosh, thanks, Ross. It really got me off track. So the so Fleury going there. The coaching is better right now, and the attitude is better. Things are better in Edmonton right now. They take out Florida the other night, and a game that Koskinen played really well in. By the way, Florida has lost 3 in a row now, which is also a little bit disturbing. But not a death blow for the Florida Panthers for sure. But I think that the chances of getting to go there and playing with McDavid and seeing they're getting hotter. Now, are they going to? Is it possible that Edmonton makes the playoffs? Doesn't make the playoffs?
Yes.
That is possible, but they're 1 point behind Vegas right now, and I think if they add Marc-Andre Fleury, they're in. I think that the reality that's the reality. I think that they will finish ahead of Vegas if they add Marc-Andre Fleury. I mean, the Kings now are separating themselves a little bit, and not just point wise, but play wise. When you look at the Kings play, they are way better than the Vegas Golden Knights. There's no two ways about it.
I will tell you this, though, Ek. I heard a scout say yesterday that they don't know how the Kings are doing it. And so, and this is a former NHL player
think
who
they're
happens to be a
talented.
scout.
I just think they're talented and they're fast.
So
Yeah,
I
a lot of GMs like the Kings, Russ.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying, it's just to say like that they're automatically a playoff team. I can't buy in yet. I do think they're better than what we all thought.
The moves that they made in the offseason, especially the Deneau signing. Deneau is now the checking center, the guy who matched up against the other team's number one, and it frees up Kopitar to be more offensive. And I think that's one thing. Other thing is they found an effective defense partner for Doughty, and that's Mikey Anderson, and that's been really good. And honestly, their goaltending tandem. I mean, Quick has been better than I think we expected him to be.
Yeah, he's definitely better than what we expected.
And Cal Peterson, it's a 1A, 1B scenario. Their goaltending could be the best next to Calgary in that division. So,
right. They're doing this like you say. I mean, Arvidsson too, like an old Predator player, right? I mean, these guys have found new hope. Like they've gone to their own version of the Vegas Knights and become better players. They are different.
They don't score that many goals.
No, and the influx of youngsters of Byfield that I think that helps.
Yeah, Byfield starts scoring. Yeah,
I mean they're 8-1-1 in their last 10, and they're a good differential team. They're not a great differential team.
Yeah,
but they're going to have to win a lot of close games because they don't outscore the opponent by a lot.
They don't lose the teams they should lose to. That's the thing about them. Like they don't necessarily beat the best teams, but they beat everybody they should beat. Right. And that's something that matters a lot. And that's what other teams don't face. Kevin, what else do you have? I'm sorry. Continue on.
On what now?
Did you have something else? I thought.
No. I got something.
Okay, cool. I wasn't sure if you were
because, okay, and we've mentioned this name off and on, based on where the team that he's playing with was in the playoff scenario, and that's Philip Forsberg with Nashville. And Chris Johnston came out this week saying that the demand for Forsberg on a new deal was potentially on par or even more than Roman Yossi's $9.05 million cap hit. and that is probably the reason why the chatter about Forsberg being traded before the deadline is increased, because if that's the demand, Kev, I don't think that David Poile is going to pay that. If it's something less than that, if it's something in the neighborhood of what Duchesne and what Ryan Johansson are getting, then I think there's the potential of getting a deal done. But if he's asking me the highest paid Pred, then
well, what I've heard that the compromise, David Poile said on radio that he was confident he was going to get Forsberg signed, and I talked to some people who thought that meant that the compromise would be that he would take less years but get the $9 million.
Right.
If that was the case. And he would still be 32, so he would get another kick at another long deal.
Yeah, that's
because he's
deal.
Yeah,
it's kind of a win-win for both sides.
Yeah.
Well, that's what people thought that it would end up being. Now, subsequent to that, it hasn't happened yet. He said this. He was on the radio a week ago, maybe, and he said that he thought he was going to get it done. And right after that came all those rumors about that he was on the trade block. Now, I had been told earlier in the year, and actually wrote it, that was a possibility because they didn't want to lose him for nothing, and they felt like he might go. But
so it's a definite maybe at this point.
Well,
all the people who are putting him out in rumors, to be fair, there are not a lot of. I think, Kevin, you're probably the best out there at it. You are the best out at it. There are not a lot of legit rumors that come out of Nashville.
No, there aren't. That's true, because Boyle, is kind of like Eisenman and Lamparello. But the one thing they have going for him is Forsberg would like to stay. He's made a home there. He's he's very mild mannered, and he doesn't want to start all over again and all that kind of stuff. So, and he's friends with Yossi, and so I think ultimately they'll get it done, but it's not positive. Like, why hasn't it gotten done yet? If there's a compromise there, which leads me to believe that people are wrong about what that compromise is. Or we don't know Forsberg as well as we think we do.
Well, here's the other thing too. If that compromise is there, and we know that Forsberg wants to stay, then Poile doesn't have to do it right now. There could be the other line of saying, okay, like why do it right now? Like why put yourself in a position of weakness when you're dealing with other teams who know that you have that cap space spent next year? Like there's certain situations that you might, like at this point,
it's a crap or get off the pot scenario here.
Yeah, but I think that these guys have been, Poile and Forsberg, those camps have been together for such a long time. It reminds me of stuff we've seen in New Jersey before.
If it was easy, you would have signed it already,
right?
Yeah, because they don't want. This is not a market where you take your fan base for granted, and you would there's angst.
There's angst
about Forsberg. So
there was angst about it 2 years ago.
Yeah. So if my point is if it was close, I think they'd get it done and do it. So there's something not quite right there. Either we have it wrong a little bit that the people who think they know don't, or you hope it doesn't unravel, because he's been a very consistent scorer. You look at his scoring. For the time he's there, and he gets 20 plus goals every year. Now he does have periods where he doesn't score, but they all do.
That team especially. I mean, don't we remember the Ryan Johansson signing there? He signed it before the year was over, and then was terrible. Like before the next season even started.
That's why this Forsberg deal has been problematic.
Yeah,
it's Johansson and Duchesne.
Right.
Yeah.
Those two guys got long-term deals, and they were disastrous.
Right.
Now Duchesne has picked it up this year, and I guess to a certain extent, Johansson's a little better, although he's not scoring like Duchesne. But Duchesne is back being Duchesne at his best. So if it wasn't for those two, they'd sign Forsberg for the limit,
whatever he wants,
$9 million.
Yeah.
Mike and I would
they also. I mean, if you're Poile. The kind of team Nashville is, I think you have to be as conservative as possible. You don't want to wish bad on anybody. We have to say, okay, what is Forsberg going to suffer a serious injury? But like, we don't have to commit all this money yet. Like, if he wants to stay there, like, and I think that why, I mean,
well, you're going to have to commit it very soon.
I mean, I'm just saying. I think in Nashville sometimes is they look at it a little differently.
I mean, they operated under a deadline with Ekholm because I think Ekholm said before the beginning of the season that if they didn't sign him by the beginning of the year that he was going to go UFA. And
and you haven't heard anything like that from Philip Forsberg.
No, but I'm saying, but Poyle ended up signing Ekholm for more than I think anybody thought he was going to get. He got $6.25 million, and I like him as a defenseman, but he's not a $6.25 million defenseman.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, they're in a situation here, honestly, where if you don't know for sure that, and they're in the playoffs right now, but if you don't get a good feel that you can sign him to a deal, you might have to trade him. You might have to, get what you can for him.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. They don't want to do that, though. Here's the conversation I had with someone who matters. The playoffs are big in Nashville. Like it's not good for the New York Rangers just to get in the playoffs and then get knocked out, or the Toronto Maple Leafs in 2 rounds. It's still big in Nashville. The playoffs are take over the city. It's a really big deal. So making sure you're in the playoffs is an important thing.
Very important.
They don't have him.
That's right. So they have to factor that in as well. So
right.
Mike and I want to add a rumor to the rumor chart.
Go ahead.
We have circumstantial evidence only, but we're going to place Nick Paul as a 40% chance to the St. Louis Blues.
Nick Paul. Why?
Nick Paul.
Where'd you hear
Nothing sexy, but they could definitely afford him. He's definitely their kind of player.
Okay.
And listen, St. Louis is already a dangerous team. They're kind of showing it.
Yeah.
They add another guy like that who has a little bit of scoring, has toughness. Could help them.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I think that
he's going to be a desired commodity before March the 21st because he's a UFA. He's making $1.3 million. He's having a good year.
Right.
He's coming off a World Championship where he played for Canada, and it was really good with Connor Brown and Michael Bunting and a number of guys who played for Canada. So he opened up eyes during that World Championship, and he's a big, tough guy who can play either center or wing. He's going to be like an Andrew Kopp, one of those guys that's not sexy, but has got size and plays with sandpaper, and that teams want.
Yeah, I think you're going to see players like that.
Yeah, I did run into someone from the Senators who was scouting and told me that this is the week where the Senators are open for business, that the betting window is open, that they hadn't really had been any serious discussion, but they expected with 3 weeks to go that this week they'd start, talking to people. And the guy laughed. He says, I've also seen all kinds of rumors about us. He said, we haven't talked to anybody.
Yeah. That's typical, right?
But here you go. Chris Tierney, Zach Sanford, Nick Paul, Tyler Ennis, Josh Brown, Anton Forsberg, all UFAs, all with fairly reasonable. So the only one that I think his salary is a little out of line is Tierney at $3.5 million. All those are cheap ads, are depth ads with salary that is not ridiculous. Not that they're going to get multiple first round picks for them, but they're going to get assets for them.
Yeah. I mean, the only hesitation I have with Nick Paul is just from the only thing I've heard in my mind, his assumption was that they were going to bring him back. No, I don't know if that
bring him back.
Well, they could bring him back, but they should trade him right now.
Well, they probably they should, but if the problem with trading, we talked about before, sometimes guys don't come back. Like it's not like
they really don't.
This isn't like Domestikov in Detroit. That feels like a pretty good bet. Kachuk a long time ago going back to Arizona.
That was a cap team, right? I mean, they may not be able to afford him anyhow.
Right, but next to Arizona and Buffalo, nobody's going to have more money to spend than Ottawa. Now it's a question. They'll only pay to get to the cap floor because of Eugene. But I think that's if they trade him and get assets back, they could very easily get him to come back, unless he doesn't want to come back.
Unless he doesn't want to come back, right? And now I have heard the other thing I wrote about today, and I do think, and it's interesting because the Devils are obviously not happy with their long-term goalie situation moving forward. and that the Devils are, not. I mean, we talked about Koskinen. He's a UFA, so that it doesn't necessarily equate to moving forward.
Have they soured that much on Blackwood?
But it sounds as if they have, and that they've also talked about Halak. They've talked about Hudobin.
But those are older goalies. That doesn't
older
help.
goalies, but I think that for some reason, this is still to be determined why.
Well, I have a theory why. Okay, they go out and they sign Corey Crawford. Crawford decides to retire.
Right.
That left them in the lurch.
Right.
And they had to scramble for a backup for Blackwood. This year, they go out and sign Jonathan Bernier, and Bernier hurts his hip. And from what I hear, it could be career threatening.
Yeah, we're all hearing
that too.
So if that's the case, then they're looking for a veteran goalie to be a 1B to block Blackwood after striking out, and not because of their own any issue that they're it's just by happenstance. One guy retired, one guy got hurt. Maybe they'd be in on Khudobin with a year left in his contract. Maybe they'd be in on a veteran guy like Halak. But I don't think it's going to be like as a number one. I think it's going to be as a number two.
Well, Halak would be one of the best bets here because there's definitely still talk between Vancouver wanting Pavel Zacha. And I wonder, and Besser or somebody else coming back.
That's got to be a big deal if it's Besser.
That'd be a big deal. Obviously, it's more than Zacha. But I'm just saying that Halak would fit, what they're looking at. They also really wanted Holtby in the summer. And then
Halak is not going to help them win anything next year. He's really
I really question that.
I question it too, and it doesn't make a ton of sense right now. It could be part of something else bigger, but I was just told to be on the lookout for it. And Mike, that I don't know. So there's probably other parts to it. It's probably one of those things where I'm just getting a small piece of it.
Yeah, and again with Halak, he's a UFA at the end of the year. So if you really want him, you can just go out and sign him, and that will be your third kick at the can when it comes to a veteran.
Right. Another name that came up was Brendan Gallagher. We talked about really impossible to trade, right? Impossible. Contract's hard to trade. He's old for his age.
Yes.
But the Columbus Blue Jackets apparently have interest in him. And, I think there's some sense to that. They obviously love guys with term in Columbus. They like guys like Gallagher. Like Gallagher is a Blue Jacket type player through and through.
I guess he's sort of like Cam Atkinson, but again, he gets injured a lot more than Cam Atkinson. And Atkinson used to get hurt a lot.
Yeah, it's hard to say someone gets injured more than Cam Atkinson.
I know.
And a factor here would be is that Gallagher has a no movement clause. Now, not to say he wouldn't waive that to go someplace outside of Montreal, but
why would he waive it though for Columbus?
Right. Yeah. Right. Why exactly? Why would he waive it for Columbus?
Well, Columbus is higher up on the food chain right now than Montreal.
Sure.
Yeah. Maybe he wants to get out of the pressure cooker that is Montreal. Like that's the place. If you've been in the pressure cooker in Montreal, Columbus doesn't look too bad.
Oh, I don't know.
Kevin, you're frozen totally on as far as
we hear him. So
we hear you, so you're fine. So just making sure you're okay. Just making sure.
Yeah. I didn't know that. I was frozen.
It's totally fine. You just left the time space continuum.
But if those are the two choices, stay in Montreal or go to Columbus, I think he'll trust Morton and just stay in Montreal.
Right.
Possibly. But I do. But it was interesting to me that there was a team. Because I talked to somebody and they're like, I'm like Brendan Gallagher. We were talking about Brendan Gallagher, and there's no way. And then someone told me, somebody who's familiar with Columbus said, no, Columbus likes Brendan Gallagher. That's a possibility. And so there are possibilities for some of these guys you don't think could move. Like there's some of these guys that don't.
The funny thing is like, okay, he's 29 years old, and we've all said, okay, he's probably older than 29 in terms of hockey age. He's got 12 points in 35 games this year, and he's in year one of a 6-year contract.
Yeah,
nobody's interested in.
I don't see that either.
Let me ask you this one, Ek.
Yeah.
Let's say Carey Price comes back in the next week to 10 days. Is he going to hit the rumor chart?
Not this year. We've never been told he's not. He doesn't want to. He's not going to go anywhere this year. But maybe in the summer. In the summer, I think he'll be interesting at the draft. That would seem really crazy for Montreal to trade Carey Price
at a draft in Montreal.
I know. I can't even imagine. Like
I can't wait to be there for that, Russ.
I mean, it's all up to Price, right? And it's like, it's all up to him what he wants to do. I think that it's better for them if he goes somewhere else, for sure, right now. But because he still has value, but he's got to come back and prove he's got value before they can even move him. So I think that's the other thing too. Like that's
what I think this coming back is for, to see that he can still play.
Yeah. So any thoughts now on my Vegas Golden Knights prediction, guys, over the weekend after
Nope,
the
hasn't
weekend?
changed for me.
Not a slight in the slight.
They're on a 4-5-1, and you're talking about a team that's 8-1-1. It happens all the time in hockey. I'm not worried.
The only thing that would give me any kind of pause is that I heard that Pacioretty got hurt, but it's apparently not serious. And he's been hurt. I think
he's always getting hurt.
Yeah, he's been hurt 3 times this year. So, but I still think they're not going to bring back Stone until the playoffs, and I still think they're going to make the playoffs.
Yep.
I mean, there's 2 ways they cannot make the playoffs now, and there's maybe as many as 3 or 4. That's I mean, they're only Edmonton's only 1 point behind them, same games played. That tells you how bad they've been, because Edmonton's. Do we think Edmonton's a good team this year?
Until Edmonton gets a goalie, I don't want to hear about it.
Okay. All right, let's take Edmonton out of it for a second.
You're picking the lowest point of the year right now for the Vegas Golden Knights. It's easy to do that.
No, but I'm talking about where they are right now. 1
I know,
point ahead
it's
of
the worst they played this year.
They're 2 points. They could be by the end of the week sitting out of the playoffs easily.
With a lot of games left.
I know, but the reality is, are they? Can they compete for that playoff spot with Dallas?
Yes, they can compete for
Dallas and Edmonton.
So you're now you're going to say Dallas has better
4 points behind them right now.
So you're going to trust Dallas more than you're going to trust Vegas? No, not me.
I like a lot of what I'm seeing in Vancouver, Kevin. Sorry.
Well, this is what I would say about Vegas. Like, certainly it's possible because the race is tight, but Vegas. Look at Vegas versus Dallas and compare their rosters. Like, there's a lot of reasons to like Vegas and to wonder about Dallas. Now that doesn't mean Dallas couldn't rise up and do it, but I think Vegas will be there at the end.
I mean, I take Dallas's goaltending over them, over Vegas's goaltending right now.
Oh, I don't know. I mean he's been good, but you don't know how it will be the rest of the year. And the same with Leonard. You don't know how good Leonard will be.
No, you don't. That's true. And I think Dallas can still do something here. Well, we know that they can't do anything except extract players, right? Like Vegas has to extract players. But to me, the big thing is, Stone might not be ready. Stone might not be ready by the playoffs. It might just be the reality, right? But
I'm just talking about Martinez is the only thing they have to worry about.
Well, if they lose Pacioretty, that's another issue, right? Altogether,
Mike just said it's not serious.
Okay,
that was serious. That was not serious.
But they are on such a fine line right now that I can't see, missing their best player for the rest of the season is a big deal. It just can't not be a big deal. Like when you look at Edmonton, when you look at Vegas versus somebody, you look at Mark Stone as part of that Vegas team. Without him, they're a very different team.
Sure. Like, this is the high point for the Kings, the low point for Vegas. I'm still taking Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I know what you're saying, and it's possible, but it's just not likely. You know what I mean? Like, I'll tell you what though, if you keep doing this, you're going to hit on a couple. So,
ridiculous.
Well, I mean, it's true. I mean, you take the most unlikely scenarios and you like them, and they're fun and they're entertaining. But
even a broken clock is right twice a day.
I need to defend myself for a second. I was just talking
but you like these, arguments, and you always have. It doesn't make you a bad person.
I don't think you think I'm a bad person, Kevin.
But I mean, it's
pretty bad.
It's just, I tend to look at things on what's likely and what isn't likely, and we can be pleasantly surprised.
There's so look at the 2 things I've talked about today that you guys think are crazy, like the Islanders. That is crazy. And what I'm not saying I'm not saying the Islanders are going to make it. I'm simply pointing out that they are technically in control of their destiny. That doesn't mean anything beyond that.
Yeah, but this is like us talking that everyone's got optimism on opening day in baseball for with the Islanders. I will say this. it's more likely that Vegas will miss the playoffs than that.
Right.
Yeah,
For that, I'm saying I think is going to happen. See, that's the difference between my Islanders thing and the Vegas thing. Needs to be distinguished here. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, could happen. I just think it's just unlikely. So
yeah, I mean, I think I don't know what point it becomes less. It's just amazing to me. I think what makes me go so hard on the Vegas thing is how close it really is, and how much people seem to be in denial of that fact, because it's way closer than how confident everybody is about it. Like the confidence level is so high for something that is so close to being a disaster. And I think that's something that's why I'm kind of going with it, because to me that there's something about that always bothers me. Like, people hang on to their confidence until they don't, right? Like people are extremely confident about Vegas, and then one day they'll be like, Vegas is terrible. It's going to happen. It's going to happen to every team.
You're right about that. That's what happens all the time.
You know what I mean? It's like everyone's like, they're good, and then suddenly there'll be a weekend where everybody's writing about how Vegas needs.
So you're going to ride Vancouver for the rest of the year now?
No. I mean, I'm impressed. I mean, you have to be impressed with them, right? They're 4 points behind Vegas.
I mean, look, I was wrong. I thought they'd make the playoffs, and they're 7-3 now, and they're still like 4 points back. They're
only 4 points back, which compared to teams in the East is quite a.
The East and the West are completely different animals.
The race in the East is done. It's over with. It's
pretty much
in the West.
Pretty much. Like, what can change in the East?
No, I said pretty much. That's what I said.
Either. Oh, never mind. Whatever.
Well, yeah, I mean, Columbus tried its mightiest to get into the race, and
they just showed how hard it is, because I mean they lost 2 games and now it's done. Like now,
right.
But before those 2 games, they was thinking, okay, maybe they're not sellers. Maybe
I honestly think the most intriguing thing in the next 3 weeks is whether Anaheim stays in the mix, and if they don't, what Verbeek is going to do with the 3 UFAs. Because, I mean, if they stay in the race, if they're in a wild card spot, then maybe he trades one of them, maybe he trades none of them, maybe he sticks with all of them. But if they fall out, then maybe he trades all 3 of them, maybe he trades 2 of them. Raquel, Lindholm, and Manson are 3 of the bigger names in this market. I think they make a difference if they're available.
They do. And you know what I think, Mike? I honestly, and I don't know, Kevin and Russ, maybe you guys agree with me or not, but I feel like even when Anaheim was just killing it this year, I always felt like the message coming, when I talked to people at the team, the message coming from the team was never, wow, we've turned the corner. Like it was always waiting for them to not be this good. Like they always felt like they were playing above their game.
I felt like that, and I know people in the media felt like that. I don't know what the team felt, to be honest.
Well, I don't think they expected to be
right.
They have the success this year that they've had. I think that's definitely
and I think that when they were thinking about what moves they're going to make towards the future, I don't think they were ever the team that I felt like, based on this limited success they've had this year, that was going to change their plan. Like I didn't get that.
They didn't expect Terry to blow up like he did. They didn't expect Zegras to have the impact that he had. Getzlaf until he was hurt, he was having a great year, in the twilight of his career. I mean, all the Gibson is Gibson. He's always whenever he's healthy, he plays great. So all these things fell into place, but now you have to face the reality that, all right, how many of these guys are you going to be able to sign? And maybe you get one of them signed before the deadline, and do you move the other 2 or whatever you're going to do?
Well, yeah. I mean, do you think their plan has changed from the beginning of the year, Kevin, for long term?
No, not at all. But it might be changed with Verbeek being there. I mean, I think you're going to see them do exactly what the Red Wings did. Verbeek and Yzerman were of one mind. So I think they've kind of always been into the draft, but I think they'll be even more committed to it now. And so, in that regard, maybe it won't change much, because Murray was into the draft as well. But you'll see some subtle changes with Verbeek, that's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, they've always wanted to, I think, keep Lindholm. They've always liked to try.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. And I think they always felt like they were going to trade Manson. And if I just feel like there's certain things that happened, even if they had been like 4 or 5 points in the playoffs at the trade deadline, that those things still would have happened.
Mm-hmm.
And which is a smart thing to do, like that. And there are teams that don't do that. It was a smart way to go. But now, now that they're not in the playoffs, and chances are chances are small that they will make the playoffs still. Yeah, I think those guys could move. Like, I mean, maybe Lindholm stays, but I think he was going to stay the whole. They were going to try to keep him the whole time. So, that's.
I think if they got rid of Manson, they could sign Lindholm, and I think you're right. That's
Yeah, I think that's the thought.
Yeah.
That's all the time we have for today, folks. We appreciate you guys so much. Thanks for liking us, following us, subscribing to us would be great. Follow everybody on Twitter. It's @ByKevinAllen. It's @Mike in Buffalo. It's @Sportsology. I'm @Eklund. And we are at your TV and computer every night from Monday through Friday. So we'll be back in tomorrow. Remember, without the buzz, it is just hockey. And it's not over, Mike. It's not over.